All right, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video, and thank you for joining me. Today we are finishing what we started. In the last video, you saw we installed a VulcanWorks chain conversion kit. Went together really nice and smooth, but I did not have an inner primary gasket kit or the Baker compensator that I was waiting on. That is something that you should consider upgrading when doing a chain conversion and planning on adding more horsepower. So those parts are now here. That's what we're gonna be tackling today. I'm also going to show you some more parts that have arrived. Really, really beautiful forged carbon pieces. So without further ado, let's get rolling. All right, so to get things started here, let's inventory the new parts that we need to throw the inner primary back on. We've got an OEM Harley Davidson primary gasket reseal kit. Comes with a new derby cover gasket. Don't need that because I have the Trask one. Your O-rings for your drain plugs, your primary seal here, and a new clip. Comes with your 5 bolts that you need to re-bolt your inner primary to the block. Very important that you replace these. These do have a rubber grommet gasket style deal underneath the flange of the bolt there. So you really want to replace those, not reuse. I don't know if they're stretch bolts or not, but just take my word for it, replace them. So fun little tidbit, if you order the CVO kit instead of the regular one, I'm sure it's more expensive unfortunately, but you do get a black gasket here. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but this is a thick metal gasket and it goes right here. And you can see on the stock 117, the silver gasket between the block and the primary housing, and it looks stupid. I don't know why they did that. I guess I do. If you buy the CVO, you get the black one. But so yeah, buy the CVO kit, you get the black one, looks way freaking cleaner. Fun little tidbit there. And then you've got your outer primary cover gasket. That's all you need in terms of seals. Much more straightforward than twin cams used to be. Before we get started on reassembling stuff, we need to chase these threads out. You're looking at 1/4 20 for the smaller ones and 5/16 18 for the larger ones. It's very important that you chase these threads out, especially when you're looking at, aluminum block, steel bolts. A lot can go wrong there. If you strip a case, it's not the end of the world. There are repair solutions. You can helicoil it, but much better than a helicoil is a time cert. I had to do that on my Dyna, but we want to avoid that today. So we are gonna use thread chasers, not a tap. The difference between a tap and thread chasers is the tap is actually a much steeper, taller threads, and so when it comes to chasing the threads out, it doesn't work so well, plus it's tapered at the end. So you really want to use a dedicated thread chaser. I didn't have any because I haven't really, been on top of my stuff in the past, but to be honest, we're gonna do better today, and I went ahead and ordered a thread chaser kit off of Amazon. So we've got that. We'll start with that, show you guys what that looks like, then we'll start reassembly. All right, so like I said, Amazon. It's like 50 bucks, but comes with a lot of sizes. You'll have it for a lifetime. You got your metric and your standard in here, and not just thread chasers for internal, but also external, right? So we'll start with the 1/4 20. It's going to be these 5 here. Here is what our thread chaser looks like. It's got little grooves in it, but other than that, it's basically a regular bolt. That way, the excess material that you do scrape away from threading in gets in these channels, and then you pull it back out. So you can see as it gets harder there at the end, that's that excess material and thread Loctite that we're trying to get out of here before we pack the new bolts in. And as we make our way back out with this thread chaser, you'll see the material falling underneath and out of the hole, and then also the material that's now living in the grooves of it. So seems kind of monotonous, but it does have a purpose. All right, so same thing on the 5 primary bolts. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These things are really gunked up. There's a ton of crap in there. So you can see right here, all of that material from the threads there. Same on the frame here. So it's worth doing. All right, took an extra 10 minutes. Now we can with our minds at ease, throw that inner primary back on. I will end up chasing the threads on the primary cover where the bolts go in there with the 1/4 20, and then that will be good to go. So a little hint for you guys next time: don't leave your freaking whole kit right underneath where you're chasing your threads. Kind of a dumbass play in my part. All right, so we're just gonna quickly clean up these surfaces and we'll grab our inner primary. All right, we've got our inner primary all ready to go here. Cleaned up the mating surfaces with some Scotch-Brite really quick. Just make sure there's no gunk going in. And then we've got our gasket here. Unfortunately, there are no like locating pins or dowel pins or anything to kind of keep it in place, but the gasket does have 2 little rubber nubs. So you can use those to keep the gasket in place and centered. So one goes there and one goes there. So it's kind of nice. It's just well thought out, right? For the end user. So real quick, make sure we got everything here. Seal's gonna go back on here. I should Scotch-Brite that up really quick, just so that our seal has a really nice smooth surface. Now we're looking real good. So here we go. Make sure that we have all of our little dowel pins that came with it. Here, because they can come right out. If you're missing any, look around somewhere in your frame or on your bike lift, because they're there. And if you were following along because you were doing the chain conversion in the last one, now's a very, very, very good time to make sure you are for sure all buttoned up behind your primary, because you do not want to go any further and then go, oh shit. So the next step is going to be the 5 bolts that hold our inner primary in place to the block and transmission. As I said, we have our new hardware here. This is going to get red Loctite, and I do need to check a torque spec, so I'll be right back with you. Okay, a couple things here. I lied, no red Loctite. It already comes with a thread locker on it, so we're good there. Keep in mind, as I said, there is an little orange O-ring gasket there. These are pretty well on there, so I can't imagine that one would have like fallen off in the packaging, but just make sure that you do have one underneath all 5 of them. And our torque spec is gonna be 26 to 28 foot-pounds. And there is a torque pattern, I'm sure, but it's always a good idea to just start in the middle and work your way out. So I'm gonna go here, 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 here. There probably is a torque pattern. I don't have the full manual. I totally should. I just never bought one, and I have access to all the torque specs. So I just looked at the torque specs and used best judgment on torque pattern there, but that's my FYI there. So as you saw, I did a pretty healthy little base tighten on each bolt, kind of nice and even. So we're ready to do our torque spec here, which is 26 to 28 foot-pounds. I'm gonna go 28. Well, thank goodness we did it. We did not have any bolts strip out like we did on the Dyna. So far so good. Next up, you get over to the workbench, take a look at the stock compensator, unbox the Baker compensator, which I have not even looked at yet. And from there, we'll do a quick spiel about compensators so you know why I went with the one I did and why you should consider it if you're, in the market. So here we have the stock compensator. This is the outer portion of it with the sprocket that rides on that primary chain there. And it's got 3 little lobe sections here. You see there's actually some wear. I'll bring you in closer and show you, but there is actually quite a bit of wear, I think, for 20,000 miles, at least my personal opinion. And there are little grooves in those 3 locations where oil can make their way in and make a film layer to try to hopefully, avoid metal on metal wear. Here we have the other half of our compensator ramp. This just lives in here like so, and it's able to move back and forth ever so slightly while maintaining a pressure on it, thanks to all of these little spring packs. They look like washers, but they're actually springs, and that creates tension between to 2 ramps and allows them to move some and take up some shock, but obviously not like disengage or anything like that. So the entire purpose behind a compensator is to relieve stress from the crankshaft being produced by just the power of the engine to the starter, the transmission, you know, even you could say your drive pulley, right? Your whole drivetrain is just supposed to be a little bit less abused by the implementation of a compensator in the equation. So, some big words there, right? Basically, you can see it's able to do this number, right? So, when your starter engages and it has to spin this primary chain, all of the stress of that entire drivetrain and everything is on that little starter shaft, right? So without the compensator, it's more abuse. It's just instantaneous shock to the starter shaft. Same goes for your clutches. I mean, really, the entire drivetrain. So I think you get it. That's the point. Now, why is the stock one limited, right? So stock one is a poured cast material, right? And these are known to break into 3 pieces under high stress. They'll break at the low spots here where there's just not as much material, here, here, here. And then what will happen is you get no-go and you get a bunch of clacking and stuff like that in your primary. Now, the other thing that you can have happen is you can be parked and you go to start your bike and it doesn't start. And it sounds like your starter's broken. And upon investigation, you see your starter's not broken. It is spinning the primary chain. Thank goodness, right? Wrong, because that means your primary chain's spinning, but it is not spinning your compensator on your crankshaft of your engine because it is broken in 3 pieces. So, what is the solution? There are plenty of different options out there. Dark Horse makes an option. Star Racing makes an option. Baker makes an option. Plenty of other companies. Why did I choose Baker? Baker makes some really good stuff. They're engineering nerds, kind of like Vulcan with the chain conversion, which I love that. They make a really nice high torque bearing that I ended up putting in the primary of the Dyna. So I've used their parts before, and I know that they are quality. They make built transmissions called grudge boxes for these bikes. They're a drivetrain company, right? So the Star Racing compensator only replaces this ramp and not this one. And that's okay. It is a better solution than the stock one. If you're trying to do a affordable and straightforward fix, that'll probably get you there. It's definitely much better than the stock one. Okay. Next up in the option list for me is the Dark Horse ones. I don't like that it's a serviceable thing. So some people may like that, some people might not, but there are like little shoes in there that do need to be replaced from time to time. Not a huge deal. You don't have to pull the whole inner primary and stuff like that you've seen in this video. You just have to pull that outer cover, which, it's pretty straightforward, but it's not something that I want to think about or worry about or have break on me. I just set it and forget it for 50,000 plus miles. So that is why I chose the Baker compensator. So we're gonna get this thing unboxed, we'll take a look at it, and I'll talk about why it's better than the stock one and why it's better than the other 2 options in my personal opinion. Well, I just went and rewatched that footage to make sure it was okay, and I'm an idiot because I took my sweatshirt off and I left my freaking mic on my sweatshirt. So I'm very sorry for that last spiel, but I'm not gonna redo it. I'm just not. It was good the first take, so. Sorry about that bad audio in the last clip. It is what it is. Moving on. So, Baker compensator box here. Well packaged. Look at that, very nice. Oh, oh cool. So this was purchased during the holidays and it did come with a free mystery box. So looks like we have a little, cool, okay. You got 20 bucks here. So yeah, they, during winter, were offering, free mystery box with your purchase. And I got 20 bucks here. Oh, so I got 40 bucks here. I got 40 bucks. Don't spend it all in one place. All right, so cool. Baker sent me $40 cash with my compensator. So there we go. This is the 34 tooth compensator. This is the same amount of teeth as stock. They do offer a 30 tooth. Why would you want to do a 30 tooth? Well, if you're not doing a chain conversion and you don't have the option to gear up or gear down, you have the alternative option of being able to do so with your compensator. So if you want more low end, you can go with a 30 tooth compensator, and then your bike is just magically faster, accelerating, and you're beating your buddies and they don't know why. But you lose top end, and if you're gonna be making more power than stock, you're gonna run out of gear real fast, like just brap, 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 brap. So for me, I chose to stick with the 34 tooth, stock gearing, that's what I want. So here we go. Fits Softail Touring 06 to 16, 07 to 17, M8 17 on. It fits all that stuff. Right away you can recognize we have a completely different sort of spring pack style here. Then we've got our inner ramp. Much more material on the bottoms, especially with this flanged portion here. So it's much stronger. And then you have your outer sprocket here. And we do have improved oil galleries so that we get more oil in between the ramps to avoid a failure there. And you'll notice the ramp difference. So when we take our Baker compensator and we go back and forth, you can see how steep, how quickly it makes its way up and down. Whereas the stock one is a much slower, steady up down, right, if that makes sense. With the Baker one being a more aggressive ramp system, you're going to get a much smoother operation. It's going to be quieter, and overall it should just be a set it and forget it thing. So that's the story behind the Baker compensator for me. Do your own research on it, decide what you like, what you want, but that's what I got for you guys. There are comparison videos I've seen between the Dark Horse, Star Racing, these from someone who made an entire video just talking about them. So that information is out there if you're looking for it. By all means, do it up. And we've got detailed instructions, very good. Before we can actually just slap everything together, stick it on, and call it a day, we need to make sure that our clutch basket sprocket and our compensator sprocket are perfectly aligned within 0.003. So first thing we're gonna do is slap our whole clutch basket assembly on. Now we're gonna go grab our compensator assembly. Instructions say to oil up every piece of this compensator. So spring pack, our inner shaft piece here, each ramp and all their faces. And keep in mind this sprocket piece here does have a O-ring in there, so we want to make sure we get oil on that as well. And then you can see also when this is out, all those oil galleries for oil to make their way in, and then also oil all over this sprocket. So we're going to do that first, and then we'll just assemble everything on. The kit came with different shims, and based on our measurements that we take, we'll figure out what shims we need to make sure that that primary chain rides perfectly straight, isn't wonky in any way, premature failure. Not looking for that. All right, so they recommend before installing everything to clean out the 9/16 12 threads on the inside of this shaft. Unfortunately, mine is too short. There's a joke in there somewhere. So now we need to pull our plate off so that we can just lightly snug up our clutch nut here. All right, that's gonna be plenty. Clutch basket and all that is not able to move now. That is pretty important. We wanna make sure that it's good and snugged up, because we are talking about just thousandths of an inch here that will matter in terms of long-term wear and care. We're ready to assemble our compensator on the shaft here, and we've got everything oiled up. Start with this guy here. We need to run our compensator ramp on like so, maybe, there we go, like that. We've got our spring pack here, all of our little pinches on it face outwards towards us, so like so, and we'll slip this guy on. All right, That is good. And then we've got our outer ramp here. Like so. And we've got this guy here. And we're gonna be using the stock bolt, not the one that came with the Baker compensator, because this is gonna be coming back out. This is only a test fit so that we can take our measurements and make sure that we have this shimmed correctly. If not, the kit came with a few different shims where we will be able to make sure it's the proper distance on both the clutch basket and the compensator. It's cranking the engine, so that should be tight. Okay, so we have our machined straight edge here. We're going to run it across the sprocket faces. We're going to use my calipers here to take a measurement between the mating surface of the primary here and the flat edge. Same over here. So we're looking for this measurement and this measurement. We need to have those within a 3/1000. So very, very tight tolerances. There's not much room for error there. So they do come with different shims, and we'll figure out which one we need. Go from there. So we'll measure the front first. 2750. 30/20. So yeah, we're at 27 and 30. So we're way off there. So we've got our 3 different thickness of shims. That's the ticket. So we're gonna use our thickest shim here, and that's going to completely take up the anomaly there. Okay, so I know that might have seemed overcomplicated. I'm trying to do my best job as possible of explaining to you guys, but essentially flat edge, both sprocket faces, you know, don't do anything wonky, make sure they're nice and flat and even, and then you just take your measurement on both sides from your primary, and whatever the difference is, that's gonna be the thickness of shim you want. We'll throw that in there. It's gonna go behind the compensator assembly that we just installed, and our measurement should be absolutely perfect. So from there, we will also take off the clutch basket, throw the chain on, and then we can really do the deal. So yep, that's what's next. Here we go, clutch basket and compensator with the primary chain. We're gonna throw the compensator bolt in. Now we're using the new one with the Loctite. This is blue Loctite, so I'm gonna throw a few dabs of red on here. It's not gonna hurt anything. Standard thread. So we've got that started. Do the clutch hub nut now. And there's a bunch of crap in the threads here, so I'm using a 90-degree pick. Getting the red Loctite out. We wanna dry these threads off on our clutch main shaft here so that we can put just a tiny bit of red Loctite in here. Clutch main shaft nut is going to be 80 foot-pounds. So next up is our compensator bolt. This is standard thread, so righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And according to Baker, 100 foot-pounds, back it off half a turn, and then 175. So the torque wrench only goes to $150, but we'll go a little bit more than that, and that'll be good. So yeah, we'll start with 100. Okay, then we'll back it off half a turn. There's a quarter, there's a half. Now we'll go with that 175. According to this, if I go 1 revolution, that'd be 160 and 170, right? I don't know. Should be about 175 right here. I like it. I think that's legit. We clicked at 150, went a little more, 175, and I felt it spin a little bit more, so yeah. I feel good about that. Hope you guys do too. It's time for me to get some lunch. I'm freaking starving, and then I'll come back and we'll keep cranking on this thing. All right, well, while I was eating lunch, I was thinking about how the job was going and everything, and I got to thinking about the shim and my measured depths of the sprockets on the clutch hub and the compensator. And I went back over the instructions because I realized that I made a fatal mistake. I guess not fatal, but not one that we would want to make. So I'm saving you guys the heartache right now. I had to remove my bolt for my compensator and redo my measurement because I did not have the front of the inner primary housing bolted into the block. Let me explain. I only had the 5 main bolts, right? So nothing at the front of the primary cover was held in place. So what I ended up doing was sticking a couple of sockets on the bolts that hold the outer primary cover that go through this inner primary cover and into the block to sandwich this down all the way. So yeah, I removed the compensator bolt, retook my measurement. So not the end of the world. Fortunately, I caught it, but I am going to be taking that 3/1000 shim out and everything will be aligned and perfect now that the primary is actually compressed down all the way. Hopefully that makes sense. Basically what I'm getting at is primary was out because it wasn't bolted in. Once I bolted it in, it changed the actual measurement of where the compensator was. On the crankshaft, got it good, remove the bolt, pull it back out, pull the shim off, put the chain back on, slap it back on. We will clean up the threads on this guy, red Loctite it, and move on with our lives. So now that we have this retorqued up and everything is correct, we're ready to install our chain tensioner. As you'll recall, in the previous video, we zip tied it, which is gonna make it really easy to slip it in, bolt it up, and then just snap the zip tie and it'll be set in its proper location. So we'll just slip it in here, clean these threads up, and we'll do a little bit of blue Loctite on these. And those 2 tensioner bolts get torqued to 24 foot-pounds. Got that, proper tension there. It is automatically tensioning, but still good to make sure. We are good there. So we're getting kind of close here, guys. And now is the time where I show you another part that I just had delivered. I just had time to kind of sweeten up the setup. And it's a pretty simple part, very cheap, but it does increase the clutch clamping force by, I think they say like 50%. So you're not replacing your basket, you're not replacing your plates, you are simply making sure that they grab harder and therefore reducing the possibility of slippage. Supposed to not change the amount of pressure that it takes to pull the clutch by much. I do have the Mueller Easy Pull to make that easier, so kind of maybe will balance itself out. But we have a Trask pressure plate setup. They call it their power plate. I'll go grab it, show you what it looks like. It's just a different set of springs and a plate, and it looks cool in there, and it serves a purpose. Booyah! Trask power plate. Boom, right there. 3 stiffer springs. Set a nice ARP hardware that'll look good in that clear window, and we'll have better clamping force on our clutch, so clutch dumping and hard pulls, stuff like that. No slippage, make everything last longer, and yeah, so we'll see how this does. Well, that's kind of nice. They've got a little card with a scan me for instructions there. Very nice billet aluminum power plate there. See all the nice passes on the machining process. All right, so we'll start with our springs. And then our power plate here. We want to make sure the springs seat in those little cups back there. And then we've got our hardware here. Got to compress it a little bit to get it started. So we've got our 8mm 12 point. We're going to run this down nice and evenly, about 1/8 inch increments. Then we're going to torque them to 90 inch-pounds. Pretty easy install there, huh? Looks good. increase the clamping force. Obviously, once we have the, whole assembly back together, should be pretty sweet. We've got our little clutch pin adjuster piece. Slips back in like so. We've got our little retaining ring here. Make sure it's seated all the way, which it is. All right, so as you guys may recall, starter is still out. Need to take care of that. We've got a 1/4 Allen here, 2 bolts, blue Loctite. It's gonna get torqued to 24 foot-pounds. Starter is done. Next is our linkage here. All right, linkage is all wrapped up here. Totally should have done this ahead of time, but that's all right. Next up, we want to chase out all of the threads on our primary face here. It's a 1/4 20. Okay, we've got our gasket right here. One last look at everything. We're torqued. We've got our shim out of there, so this is all right. We're torqued. We've got all of our clutches stacked in the basket correctly. We've got the power plate on. We've got the clutch adjusted, but we can always readjust that with just the derby cover off. We've got the starter, we're good there. Tensioners in, torqued. Should be good to go. Let's go grab that cover. Kickstand out of the way here. All right, mating surface on the outer primary cover is all clean. We've got 2 bolts here ready to go in with blue Loctite to hold this thing in place. Make sure there's no fuzzies or anything else in here. Looking good. Make sure our gasket doesn't move on us. £120 on all these primary bolts, and I'm really wishing that I had gotten some ARP ones while I had them all out, but we'll do it later. There is a sequence to it. It's good to start in the middle, top, bottom, and work your way out. All right, now let's not be a ding dong because I only have 1 quart of primary oil here. We need to put the drain plug in before we fill it. So we've got our drain plug right here. A new O-ring did come with the primary kit. It's gonna be a 5/8 and I torque it to 20 foot-pounds. All right, we are good to throw a quart of oil in this thing. I've got my little filler. Honestly, what I like even better than the little cup guy that goes in there is just a regular frickin' funnel. I'm using the AMSOIL synthetic primary fluid. I switched over to using all the AMSOIL oils a few oil changes ago before Sturgis. Well, according to my calculations, we're pretty close to being done here. Got the cover on, derby cover all torqued on, linkage, everything is back together pretty much besides this floorboard, unless I'm forgetting something. Passenger floorboard I'm actually gonna hold off on, but I'll tell you guys why in a second. Let's get this front floorboard on. All right, those are nice and tight. I did red Loctite them. They are 5/16 if I forgot to mention it. Bam. I need to check the workbench, make sure I am not forgetting anything crucial. We do have oil in it. We do have a tensioner in it. We do have the chain on it. We do have everything supposedly back together. Be able to start this pig up and see what it does. All right, first startup. Let's see how we did. Well, it runs. Next thing we need to check is where's the clutch friction point, because I did not adjust the clutch. Seems good. I mean, yeah, that's good. Easy to get into neutral. No clunk going into first. Neutral is really easy to find. Never had first gear be so smooth going in. All right, that is a wrap on the Baker compensator upgrade slash, inner primary reinstall after doing chain conversion. So I guess you could say part 2 to that as well. It works great. I rode it up and down the road. It moves under its own power, no weird noises. No leaks, no ticks, no nothing. Starts right up. I think it's a win. So the reason that I have not put on the passenger floorboard is because I'm actually waiting on a part. A subscriber commented on the previous video, on the chain conversion video, and said, hey, I've got an Alloy Art Spreading Eagle chain tensioner that you said you wanted, and I'll sell it to you for a discount. I said, let's do it. So I got that ordered up from him. It's already in transit, should be here tomorrow on my birthday. So happy birthday to me. And along with that, yeah, he did include the billet aluminum upgrade Alloy Art swing arm, like pivot mount. So that got a ball rolling for me to spend more money with Alloy Art on a rear engine mount, Heim joint deal, along with their good and tight bushings for the rear swing arm, which I won't install until I do a swing arm conversion, which will be probably another month when I receive that from the company that's building it. And yeah, so things are rolling. As you can see, we have some forged carbon that has showed up. I am still waiting on a front fender. It is not even shipped yet, and it's coming from Thailand. So it'll be a few weeks before that shows up. But little by little, I will start putting this stuff on. It is absolutely gorgeous. This is a forged carbon chin spoiler from Fat Boy Designs. Really, really nice, clean. Before I install that on the bike, I am going to get this clear PPF'd, and I'm actually probably gonna hold off until I get my 19-inch front wheel. That 21-inch front wheel almost hits that black plastic one. I really don't wanna have a mishap and have that thing hit this. So once I get the 19-inch wheel and I know it's gonna clear without possibly hitting, since this is a different fitment than stock, and I get this PPF'd, I'll throw it on there because this is a really high impact area here. So along with that, Fat Boy Designs is the only company that I have seen that offers forged carbon bag latches. These are freaking awesome. So, so clean. This is gonna just really, really set off the side profile of the bike, kind of bring in some forged carbon to the side as well. And I think I'm finally gonna be getting rid of my Custom Dynamics tail lights. I really, really like the look of them from behind, but the one issue that I have with them is with them being so inset of the saddlebags, it makes the saddlebags look kind of big and weird, with the big gap between fender and then the taillights way back there and then bags again. That wasn't such a big problem on the previous model Road Glides, the Rushmores, because the bags didn't stick out as far back as they do now, but that's how they were able to make up some more room. So I do have some Carbon Visionary forged carbon taillight housings. These are identical to the stock ones, but they're forged carbon. These are going to look so freaking good. I will be using the stock taillights with those. Eventually, I may swap them out to a dark smoke, but I think that's gonna look good. Something to switch it up. And in addition to that, right now, the Custom Dynamics taillights fit in the stock subframe because it's literally cut out, and they're made to go right there. But if you do an aftermarket subframe, which I am considering since I'm doing the billet swing arm, I would not be able to run those anyway because there's just nowhere to mount. Usually people put like 2 little bullet LEDs, but I don't prefer that because I want to be seen at night. As you know, we have all lost people on motorcycles, so if I can do something about making sure I'm seen. Stock taillights are really, really bright, so that's what I'm gonna try to incorporate into whatever I tend to do in the future with the bike. So that's a whole bunch of future info for you guys, so make sure you're subscribed so you can check all that stuff out. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it informative, learned something, or it helped you out in getting your job done. Maybe convinced you that you could do it yourself. Either way, give the video a thumbs up. Let me know how it did. If there's anything I forgot, let me know. And yeah, I will catch you guys in my next off week.